Well, this week on our pod, we have a new voice. One of my best friends, Mo. Say hi.
Hello, everyone. Mo here.
Now, Mo is an early millennial, or as we were laughing just a little bit ago, they also call it a geriatric millennial, although he is not that old. Mo and I met through a mutual friend when he came to work with us at CompuSay back in the day. And we have been friends ever since. I think working on a bunch of different projects and just like hanging out, going to brunch or dinner or like meeting up for different things. Um, so yeah, so it's been like what, over a decade, 15 years or something?
At
It's been
least. Maybe
yeah.
maybe 20 even. I don't
I
know.
don't think we're at 20 yet because I just had my 20th high school reunion like a year ago, two years ago now. So I think we're like just under that, but we'll get there. We're on our
Oh
way.
yeah. Oh man.
Well,
It's
talking
been a
about our upcoming movies for our podcast, I mentioned that we'd be watching this week's movie, Can't Hardly Wait from 1998, and he let it slip that he has been in love with Jennifer Love Hewitt. You want to tell us about your love for Jennifer Love?
Oh man, I don't even know where to start. It was let's keep in mind this was very high schoolish, a long time ago. I mean, she's still beautiful, but I had like yeah, definitely had a pretty big crush on her. I think the only reason I even watched this movie when it originally came out was just because she was going to be in it, and she was not even in that much of the movie, really.
It is about her though. I mean, it does like focus on her and she does show up in it. But yeah, there's a lot of other actors and actresses in this movie. So I would think that you'd also like be looking for them because they were popular at the time. But apparently that Jennifer Love like brought you to it.
Yeah, no, she was definitely cute. And even just I know we'll kind of talk about this more later, but even just revisiting it after all so many years. I mean, I haven't watched it since it first came out, and you're like, wow,
Yeah.
she was cute for sure.
Yeah, she
So
still looks the same too. Like if you see her and stuff now, she looks like maybe she's aged like 5 years. Like she looks very similar to what she looks like now. But still the long hair, same physique, same everything. So it's crazy. But yeah, and Mo's being a little bit modest because like when we brought it up initially on our call, he was like gushing about his like obsession with
yes.
Jennifer
So I
Love.
mean, I am being modest. I mean, it was to the point where I had like a scrapbook of her. Like when I was in high school, I'd be, I would be like clipping pictures and just thought she was like so
I love
cute.
it.
And my friends, some of our mutual friends that would tease me about it, and
Yep.
because I would literally keep it like at our friend's house and
We're
have
gonna
it
have
there.
to we're gonna have to call Mike later and ask him like what he thought of your obsession with Jennifer Love. I should have done that homework. I should have found that out for us. So
Yeah,
maybe
you
I'll
should.
maybe I'll ask him later. Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
gosh. Well, let's dive into it. So you're listening to Millennial Meets Gen Z 90's edition, the podcast where a nostalgic millennial, me, introduces a 90's obsessed Gen Z
Me.
to
Like
the
I was,
movies, music, and TV shows that define a generation. Each week, we watch a 90's movie, sometimes a classic TV episode, and we compare notes. I bring the nostalgia, and Hannah brings that fresh perspective. And together, we kind of figure out what still holds up, what feels completely different today. She definitely asks me a lot of Gen Z questions and why these stories still matter. So, whether you've lived through the 90's or you're discovering it for the first time, let's press play and rewind with us. So, the synopsis for this movie is school's out, and an entire graduating class from football stars and cool girls to complete nerds gather at a wealthy classmate's home for a party. There, the artistic Preston hopes to move in on Amanda, the beauty he has admired from afar for these years, just like Mo. Dorky William schemes to pay back meathead Mike for years of bullying, and would-be rapper Kenny gets locked in a room with snarky Denise. So we'll start with our first time watcher. Hannah, what did you think of this movie?
Okay, this was like my favorite movie we've watched so far. I don't know why, but it was so funny, and I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I think I like movies that have several different plots because that like appeals to my ADHD and all that. So it's like nice to add so many plot lines, and I was sitting there like, what is going on? This cannot be happening. And some of the scenes, I was like, this is so high school teens. Like it was, I feel like it was somewhat realistic. I feel like some parts of the party weren't realistic, like getting locked in a bathroom. I don't know how that would happen, but I don't know. It was so funny and I loved it. I loved the movie. It reminded me of Project X, if you guys have ever seen that. It's like the same premise.
Probably built on this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Mo, what do you remember about this movie from before? Like, besides Jennifer Love Hewitt, do you remember anything about like the plot line or some of the characters?
Yeah, I do remember, the plot line for the most part. The characters, I do remember what's let me think real quick. Seth Green's character, Kenny Fisher.
Penny? Yeah.
I I remember he was actually like my favorite the first time around when
Yeah,
I watched it.
mine too.
'Cause- yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's funny. Because he's out like on this like he's like just trying to like has this goal and it's like really just kind of like built up in his head, and he has this whole like backpack full of like over preparedness for you know and I don't know
Uh,
I thought it was interesting because when you watch it like the first time around, I think like I want to say I was in high school at that time, and I was probably like maybe like a
1998.
sophomore. Yeah, I
So,
think yeah, it's probably like a
1998, you were,
sophomore
yeah, sophomore.
maybe.
That
Yeah,
sounds right.
so it's kind of like at that time you're watching it from this perspective, and you're kind of like viewing the seniors in your school essentially that year as being at this party.
Yeah.
And so you're looking at it from like a whole different perspective where you're just kind of like in it at that time. And you're just kind of like almost living it with them. Like and talking more about like I guess kind of like later if we talk about how did I view it as an
Yeah.
adult now.
Yeah. How
Or
are
I
you
don't know
viewing
if
it
we're
as
like
an adult
covering
now?
that now.
Yeah,
I feel like
sure.
I can contribute a lot more to that right now.
Yeah,
As
go
an
for it.
adult, yeah, just kind of like looking back at it as an adult, I'm just kind of like on a personal level, you're just kind of like, man, so much has changed. Like just the fact that they didn't have like all the cell phone communication and like
Right.
videos going viral and people
Yeah. Thank
just getting
God.
like, yeah, people like getting embarrassed for like all this silly stuff that would,
Yeah.
everybody was just having a good time. I mean,
Yeah.
people still have a good time now too, but it's, everything's just kind of like out there on the internet nowadays where that back then it was like you had good times and good memories, and it was like you had your handful of friends that like genuinely remembered it and you can like talk to them about it,
Yeah.
versus like the whole world like talking about it.
Well, I
um
think kids these days, when they have a party like that, they'll like, if they're gonna have a party like that, they'll like, we saw in the beginning of this movie, they collected keys to make sure no one's drinking and driving. I've seen in other movies, at least, like newer age movies, they'll collect cell phones so that like people can't record and take pictures during the party. And so they'll like collect cell phones at the door to kind of prohibit that and kind of give that vibe of the 90's experience before everyone was like taking pictures. But yeah, it's a lot different now.
I've had that exact experience. I've had that
Okay.
exact experience. So that's
Okay.
very
Hannah's
cool.
had her phone collected at a party, so
Yeah. And it
that
helps
makes
oh
sense.
make sure no videos get out. No one
Yeah,
wants to be seen with the crazy stuff you're doing.
that's so weird.
Yeah.
oh yeah. Yeah,
But
they should kind of go back to more of that. I mean, I understand in the world that we live in, it is like needed to an extent. If you're not in it, you're just like so far behind, like instantly. If you're not like, up to speed on technology and just kind of keeping up with everybody and everything that's going on in the world. But there's definitely a very different sense of just freedom per se from
yeah,
when you were in that different generation and like lived it full time,
who do you think that you would have been in this movie at this party? Who have you been hanging out with? Like, what group did you fall into in high school?
Oh God, in high school, I was probably uh I would say I was with definitely with the group, like those guys that were I think we talked about these guys before, but like the two guys that she like asks to describe Preston and they give and they give
Okay.
like the worst description.
Mo's gonna be laying on the lawn chair by the pool. Okay.
With like a piece of watermelon in my hand. Yeah, it's probably like
Stoner. They were the stoner guys.
yeah.
I love that.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Hannah, where did you fall in high school?
I think I'd be Denise. I'd be
You'd
like,
be Denise.
I'd be Denise. I'd be like, I don't like men, Preston. What are you doing? And then I would get locked in a bathroom with some random guy and be like, oh no, let me out.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah,
What did you
I was probably with the band. Like I was probably hanging out with the banders because like my friends were all in a band that I helped put together in high school. So like I was probably like with them. I would think.
think?
Um or maybe I'd be like somewhere else in the party, but yeah, I don't think I'd fit into like any of the other characters, but well,
Oh.
um let's rewind and
Wait.
then go ahead.
Hold on. The band. What role did you play in the band?
Well, I didn't actually play in the band. I like kind of managed the band. So like I helped like get their name out, get them gigs, we created like a logo for them. Like I helped put them together when we lost our drummer. I helped find a new drummer. Because my boyfriend was a guitarist at the time in high school. My best friend in high school, one of my best friends in high school was the bass player. And so I like found them a drummer and then we lost that drummer because he graduated. And so we had to get another drummer, which I think was his little brother at the time. But yeah, and like I sang, but I didn't sing with them. So we found somebody else to sing, which was another friend of ours. Um, because I think my boyfriend thought that I sang too much choir music. And so like we didn't he wouldn't let me. And they were playing like Blink 182. So I was not really welcome in the band. I think what was our name? It was like um oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to think about this because I don't even remember what the name was. I just remember that we spelled it wrong. And that kind of became the joke, is that it was spelled wrong. So yeah. And then everybody didn't know that I helped put together the band, so they just thought like I was a band groupie. So maybe maybe I would have been one of William's groupies. That's bad. I love that. Or I would have been outside when like um Mike sits down and the two girls are just like no, that I maybe I was Selma Blair, like just like no, you called us skanks, we're not. Anyway.
That's funny.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was crazy. Well, let's rewind into this movie so that everybody can catch up on what we're talking about. Well, written and directed by Deborah Kaplan and Harry Elfont. So they wrote and directed this movie. They're kind of like a duo that write and direct together. Um, so following this movie, this was their premiere for directing movie together. And then following this, they went on to direct things like Josie and the Pussycats. So there is a band that is in Josie and the Pussycats. It's like the boys band, and that's made entirely of characters from this, or like actors from this movie, including Seth Green. So you'll see a lot of them in that movie again, and a few other characters in that movie they kind of pulled from that when they wrote Josie and the Pussycats. They also wrote something called Love Life and some episodes of Liza on Demand. I haven't seen either of those, so I don't know much about them. But they are known for also writing a very Brady sequel, The Flintstones in Viva Rock Vegas. Like I said, they wrote Josie and the Pussycats as well as directed it. Surviving Christmas, Maid of Honor, Leap Year. Um, so that's kind of like how that came together. Well, we opened this movie on students in caps and gowns at graduation. I feel like this is the second movie we've had a graduation discussion about. There are three pieces of what the Gen Z would call hot goss, or maybe that's what we would call hot goss. What's hot goss? Is that like our millennial word or a Gen Z word, Hannah?
I have never heard
Okay,
that.
it's millennial. I'm sorry. I would call it hot goss. Spilling the tea. Anyway, it's floating around. The first one is there's a huge party tonight. The second one is Chris Moore is completely naked under his gown. And number three is Mike broke up with Amanda Beckett. And we did talk about how this movie and then She's All That, like there's a naked person at graduation in both movies. And I was telling Hannah that like when I graduated, they were so afraid of us, one of somebody being naked at graduation, probably following this series of movies that kept putting a naked person at graduation. They made us unzip all of our gowns to make sure we were dressed underneath. And like I remember somebody they sent, I don't remember who it was, but I feel like somebody they sent home to change because he was not wearing clothes underneath his gown or something. So, but they like threatened us. They were like, if you do this, like you're not gonna get your diploma. And so yeah, it was like such a big deal at my graduation. And I think it was because of all of these movies that led up to my graduation of like being naked at graduation. So I don't
Great.
know. Mo, did
Wow.
you have that? Did they threaten you at graduation? Like you better no? Okay, maybe it's just us.
No.
They were like, okay, middle America, you gotta get clothes on. All right. Well, the news makes its way to Preston Myers, who happens to be sitting next to the naked Chris Moore. And he is actually very excited to hear the news about Amanda Beckett. And Preston Myers, everything comes on the screen as we're introduced to these characters. And it says Preston Myers, his activities are literary journal, honor society, swimming. His future plans are Dartmouth College. His quote is beware of all enterprises that require new clothes. It's a row. Now, he is played by Ethan Embry, and Ethan is known for his role in Vegas Vacation, That Thing You Do, which is a movie we'll see later, Sweet Home Alabama, where he plays Bobby Ray, one of my favorites, and Disturbing Behavior. But he was also in All I Want for Christmas, Empire Records, Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle, Once Upon a Time, Sneaky Pete, and one of my favorite recent roles of his was in Grace and Frankie as Coyote. Well, they graduate, and after graduation, Preston meets up with his friend Denise. Now, Denise Fleming, she had no activities. Her future plans were NYU, and her quote was, "A true friend stabs you in the front." It's like so exciting, by Oscar Wilde. So Denise is played by Lauren Ambrose, who's known for her role in Psycho Beach Party, Where the Wild Things Are, and 6 Feet Under, and she was also in the movie In and Out. Preston is telling Denise he's changing his plans. He wants to go to the party to finish what he and Amanda started 4 years ago. Uh, so he goes back in time and he's like, October freshman year, the first time he'd ever missed the bus. If he'd arrived on time, he would have never seen her. He was the first person to set eyes on Amanda Beckett on her first day of school. Then he's sitting in class enjoying a late breakfast when she walks in, and the teacher sits her next to him, Preston. She also had a strawberry Pop-Tart, which he was like, and I was very surprised he didn't like still have the Pop-Tart. He was so enthralled with this. The same breakfast pastry that he was consuming at the same time. And then their freshman English teacher asks, who wants to give Amanda a tour of the school? And Mike Dexter volunteered immediately. And that is when he lost her. Now, I do want to point out there's like a really quick scene where that teacher asks that question in his memory, but I recognize the teacher that I never noticed before was actually one of the pink ladies, Jan from Grease. So she was in the movie Grease and played one of the pink ladies. And I was like, hey, wait a minute. Whereas I would have seen that movie a lot in high school, but when I saw this movie, I was probably just like old person. Who cares? Like I didn't make the connection. Um, so now Preston wants Denise to go with him to the party. But at the local food place, Mike Dexter is sitting around with his jock friends. Now it says Mike Dexter activities varsity football, baseball, wrestling, track, homecoming king. His future plans were at Ithaca College, and his quote was, "Just win, baby." Al Davis, the owner of the Oakland Raiders. Now, Mike is played by Peter Facinelli, who is known for his role in Supergirl, Nurse Jackie, The Vanished, and the Twilight movies as Dr. Carlisle Cullen. So he plays a vampire. His friends are telling him Amanda was hot, and he's telling them, but he's going to be going to college soon. And do you know who's going to be in college, right? And his friend says, girls that used to be in high school. And he's like, no, women. And he tells them the future is women. And the guys think that maybe they should break up with their girlfriends too. And then as they're leaving, they're like, Mike Dexter is a god. Mike Dexter is a role model, which is just so funny the way that it's said. They didn't even name the jocks in this movie. They just literally called them Jock 1, Jock 2, and Jock 3. Jock 1 is played by Shannon Rowe, who is in Chasing Mavericks, Boogie Nights, and Biodome as Roach. I liked that movie, so I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. He was
That was a good one. I forgot about that movie.
yeah,
That's actually
Biodome was good.
Oh yeah.
We need to put that on our list. Jock number 2 is played by Sean Patrick Thomas, who's best known by millennials from Save the Last Dance, but he was also in Reasonable Doubt and more recently the movie Till, which is the story of Emmett Till. Everyone should actually see and know that story. And Gen V was the movie that he was also in, but he was also in Cruel Intentions and Barbershop. So people might recognize him from there. Jock number 3 is played by Freddie Rodriguez, who is known for Bobby, Harsh Times, Poseidon, and Planet Terror. And he was also in Lady in the Water, Ugly Betty, and Bull. And then next we meet William Lichter. Now we're getting to the nerds. So William Lichter was valedictorian, National Merit Scholar, captain of the physics bowl team, state math Olympics team, and it keeps going down for a while as we see it scroll to all the things that he's done. And his future plans are Harvard. His quote was, all great spirits have always encountered violent opposition from mediocre minds. Albert Einstein. Now, William is played by Charlie Corsmo, and we recently saw Charlie as Hannah. Do you remember?
No, girl, you know I don't remember
I
ever.
know. He was Jack in Hook. So he played the kid in Hook who gets kidnapped.
Yeah.
Because his dad doesn't play baseball with him, and he's decides that Captain Hook's going to be his new. Yeah.
I would have never recognized him. Based on faces.
Well, he's older now. He's in high school now, where then he was in elementary school. So maybe that's the difference.
That's so funny. I even looked up connections between them prior, so I would know, and that did not come up.
Yeah. Well, he's also been in the movie Dick Tracy, and we'll see him again later this year in What About Bob? And I think he's younger. I think it's earlier movie later this year.
I will know that one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, because we'll see how many more you know from this. William is mad about Mike Dexter having bullied him for the past decade, and he's collected all the memorabilia. That I thought was really weird. He's held on to the rainforest that he made and Mike threw out a window. And he also had the eye patch that he had to wear after Mike beamed him in the eye with a raisin. He said his parents took him to a 3D film festival, and he was like, I saw no third dimension, which cracks me up every time I hear that. He's meeting with his friends, and tonight they're planning to humiliate Mike Dexter by luring him and a friend out into the yard, drugging them, getting them undressed, and making them snuggle naked together, posing them for pictures. Not great now. His friends are titled, same type of thing, X-File number 1 and X-File number 2. They don't get names either. They're played by Joel McHaley and Jay Paulson. Joel is known for Wild Nights with Emily, But I'm a Cheerleader, and The Rules of Attraction. He was also in the 2018 rendition of Little Women, the one that we did not watch. Jay is known for Mad Men, I Am, The Night, and Catch-22, but he was also in Sybil, Go, and October Road. And October Road we'll see later.
He's from But I'm a Cheerleader. I love that movie. And another character is from that and Girl Interrupted. I did look into
Several people were in But I'm a Cheerleader, I noticed. Yeah.
It's such a good movie. Oh my God.
Well, next we meet Kenny Fisher. This was my and Mo's original favorite characters. Activities were JV basketball. He played one game. So apparently he was really good. His future plans are UCLA, and his quote is from Tupac, "Picture me rolling." Kenny Fisher is played by none other than Seth Green. Seth Green is known for his role in Party Monster, Austin Powers, The Italian Job, and lots of voices in Robot Chicken. He's also in Can't Buy Me Love, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Josie and the Pussycats, America's Sweethearts, Rat Race, Without a Paddle, Be Cool, Old Dogs, Dads, Hulk, and the Agents of Smash. And he's done like a ton of voiceover work, including work on Family Guy. So he is all over the place. And you kind of know, like, he's got such a distinguished, like, look and attitude and everything that it's like, you know, when he's on something or his voice is doing something. So, but Kenny Fisher is sex obsessed. He's reading a women's magazine in a convenience store, and he said, "Peep this." It says here 92% of women at UCLA are sexually active. 92% of women in LA at UCLA just walking around going, "Sex or class? What shall I do?" That means I have 92% of embarrassing myself. He said he'd roll up on the honeys and say, "What's up, yo?" And they'd be like, "You don't know 20 ways to make me call you Big Papa? Because I don't, yo." And that is why we love Kenny so, because he's so stupid.
Wannabe rapper stuff. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, what? He reminds me of so many people from my high school. That's why he was also my favorite character, because I was like, this is so nostalgic to me as well. Like, the amount of wannabe rappers we had in my high school was crazy.
And so his crew asks, "What's the plan?" Kenny has a love kit, a backpack of sexual paraphernalia, and selected 10 lucky girls to get with Special K. And this thing has like a candle, it has like feathers, it has like 100 plus condoms of all different kinds. It looks like it's got a bunch of different stuff in it.
Now, Kama Sutra book.
Yeah, Kama Sutra book. Like he's gonna be like doing some light reading later. His crew is Homeboy 1 and 2, played by Brendan Williams and Bobby Jacoby. Brendan is known for Never Been Kissed. He was in Mystery Men, Mean Creek, and Halloween H2O. Bobby is known for his role in Tremors and Pearl Harbor, and he did one episode of Boy Meets World, which I always point out when they were on an episode of Boy Meets World, because we're going to catch some of those eventually. We also see a kid stealing things at the convenience store, as the klepto he is, which he will do for the entirety of this movie. He is played by Chris Owens, who we recently saw eating his own pubes in She's All That. That was so gross. Chris Owen has been in Major Pain, American Pie, which we'll be watching later this summer, The Mist, and October Sky, a movie we'll be watching this fall. At the party, Preston and Denise arrive. He has a letter for Amanda, and then just then, Barry Manilow comes on the radio. "Mandy." And Preston says, "It's not about a dog. It's about a woman named Amanda. This is my sign." They go inside, and who do we see? Hannah asking everyone to sign her yearbook. Do you remember this one?
Wait, is this Marissa Joan Hart?
Melissa Joan Hart, yes.
Joan Hart. Oh, I spelled her name wrong.
That's okay. None other than Clarissa Explains It All herself, who we just watched.
I knew her.
Who
She's
many
also in She's
know.
All That, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah,
No. We saw her in Clarissa Explains It All. Did we see her in She's All That?
that's what Google said when I
Oh, maybe we did. Okay.
as like
I'm
a
trying
meme.
to remember. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, so but many know as Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So that's like her main thing later.
Mhm.
Now, the girl whose party it is, that's what they call her, that's her name, is played by Michelle Brookhurst. She went to working in the costume and wardrobe department for the movies like Call the Wild and Snake Eyes. And Kenny and his crew show up at the party. His crew doesn't think he has any skills to get with women, is kind of what we find out. And we see the band setting up. This is where I'd be, over by the band, setting up. It's their first gig. The guitar player is played by Johnny Zander, who was also in Snapped and Coyote Ugly. The drummer is none other than Donald Faison, who most people will know for his role in Murray and Clueless, but more importantly for his role as Dr. Christopher Turk on Scrubs, which is now coming back for 2026. So Scrubs is doing a reboot. And he was
Oh
also
wow.
in Skyline, Kick-Ass 2, Felicity, Big Fat Liar, Remember the Titans, and Josie and the Pussycats. He's in the band. The bass player is played by Alec Led, who was in Where the Bears Are and Being Bin Laden. He was in a lot of things. The lead singer, though, is also played by an uncredited Breckin Meyer, who actually went on to marry our director for a very short time. But he's known for his role as Travis in Clueless. He's in Freddy's Dead, Rat Race, Road Trip. He's also in The Craft, Go, Kate and Leopold, and Garfield, the movie. He plays John in Garfield, the movie. And he's also in Josie and the Pussycats. He does a lot of work with Seth Green. So you'll see him a little bit. Meanwhile, the nerds are setting up at the shed. They tell William that there will be alcohol involved and like he'll have to drink it. And he says, don't worry. He's downloaded a guide off the web and he had it laminated, by the way, that will tell him how many drinks he can have before he's drunk. Good thinking, right?
That was the funniest thing ever. The fact that he just had this little pamphlet and was just like,
Yeah.
how many drinks can I have?
I was like, oh, this can't go wrong.
Right.
So Mike Dexter and crew now shows up to the party, and their girlfriends are all over the guys. The girlfriends are played by Jamie Presley, who's known for her role in Joe Dirt, I Love You Man, Not Another Teen Movie, and My Name Is Earl. She was also in a show called Jack and Jill, which was too short-lived in my opinion. And she was in Mom, and she recently did a couple episodes of Elsbeth. So if you watch Elsbeth, you'll probably catch her there. Tamala Jones was girlfriend number 2. She's known for her roles in Booty Call, Head of State, Castle, and Ordinary Angels. Sorry, but she was also in Dangerous Minds, Next Friday, For Your Love, and Rebel. And then Jennifer Lyons is girlfriend number 3. And she's known for her roles in Malibu, Dan the Family Man. Never even heard of that. But we did see her in that 70s show as Pam Macy. She was like Ashton Kutcher's slutty girlfriend. And she was also in As We See It. Well, the guys don't end up breaking up with their girlfriends right away. And Amanda Beckett shows up. This is where we finally see her in the movie, because before we saw her legs, or we saw the side of her head, the back of her. But as she shows up, the wind inside the party, don't know where that one's coming from, blows her hair back. And Moe's crush comes flooding back, right?
Aw.
When
It
she
was like
comes on
everything.
screen, where you like, oh, finally.
It was like everything hit at once. Like the party of 5 days, like
Yeah.
before she even got into movies, and like then I can't even remember if like this other what was like the other there was like another movie she was in, and now I'm forgetting the name of it. Like I Know What You Did Last Summer. I think that maybe came later though than after
Yeah.
this one. But no, it
It
was
came
like all
around
of
the same time, I think, because it's in
yeah.
the late 90s. But yeah, so Amanda Beckett, her activities were cheerleading, homecoming queen, junior prom queen, senior prom queen. Her future plans were undecided. Kind of weird. And her quote was, "I'd rather see the world from another angle, Jewel." Now, she's played by Jennifer Love Hewitt, as we've said, and she is known for her role in I Know What You Did Last Summer, so that's what you're talking about, Heartbreakers, and The Tuxedo. Did you see Heartbreakers, Mo?
I might have.
Okay, it's a comedy that came out like maybe 5 years ago, I think, or maybe earlier. Maybe it's earlier, but it just seems newer. She was also in Sister Act 2. Hannah, did you ever watch the sequel?
I did end up watching the sequel.
So you saw her in that.
Yeah, I did fall asleep during that though.
Okay, well,
I fall asleep during
we
like
can,
all movies ever, unless
we
unless
can
5 movies.
we can only do so much. Well, she was also in an episode of Boy Meets World that we will actually be watching when we watch her movie later this year. I Know What You Did Last Summer. We will watch her Boy Meets World episode in tandem.
I've heard a lot about the summer movie. I Know What You Did Last Summer. I've heard a lot about that. My mom really likes that movie.
Well, don't jump ahead because that's our Halloween movies.
Oh,
Okay.
well.
It was a good one.
She was in Party of Five. She was also in Garfield, the movie. She played the love interest, Liz. Tropic Thunder, Ghost Whisperer was her show for a very long time. She did a show for a while called The Client List.
Wait. Did you say Tropic Thunder? She was in Tropic Thunder?
Yeah, she was in Tropic Thunder. I don't remember who, I think she plays herself or something in Tropic. I can't remember, but yeah.
I can't remember either. That's a good one too, though.
Criminal Minds and 911. Well, everyone stares at her. She unknowingly walks by Preston, who says nothing. He like can't. She walks over to her friends and they treat her like a little hurt puppy. Meanwhile, Kenny is hitting on himself in the mirror, practicing his moves, and Denise is making fun of him to Preston. Apparently, Denise and Kenny used to be friends in the fourth grade. Preston says he's going to go talk to Amanda, and he finds her in the room alone with her friends who are consoling her and telling her she's so Gwyneth. And she wants to go outside and get some fresh air. And they were like, Mike Dexter is definitely not Brad Pitt. Amanda goes outside and she doesn't want to talk about it. And that's when they like are like, okay, she's not Gwyneth. She's definitely not Gwyneth.
They were mean. They were mean.
Well, Gwyneth Paltrow was like the ideal at that point in time. She was so glamorous and beautiful and perfect that was a common comparison. Well, Kenny Fisher puts on his yellow goggles and he says it's time for him to become the man. 10 ladies are willing and able tour guides into the theme park of love. So
I
he
love
goes.
how he kept flexing this. He was like, "This is gonna happen. Like, guys, trust me, I can get women."
Yeah. The first one is Kareen, who paid him no attention. He's like, Kareen, baby. And she like walks right by. William walks over to the beer guys and asks for a beer. And the keg guy is played by Seth Peterson, who's in Burn Notice, Hate Crime, and Godzilla. But William, the nerd he is, takes a sip and spits it all over the beer guys and shouts, "Nobody drink the beer! The beer has gone bad!" Which is hilarious. Kenny strikes out with number 2, Ashley, who treats him like a creep and starts to tell a story about how he got Cheetos stuck in his braces one time and they called him Chester Cheetos. Gets embarrassed and he walks away. Even the exchange student from Russia thinks that's funny. Earlier in the party, kids taught him how to say 2 things. Would you like to touch my penis? And I am a sex machine. He's played by Alexander Martin, who's in 21, and in Josie and the Pussycats as the bad guy Les. Next on Kenny's list is Jenna. And Kenny strikes out because she's allergic to dancing. That's what he says. Now, she's played by Clea Duvall, who's known for Argo, The Faculty, But I'm a Cheerleader, Set, and Identity. But we recently saw her in She's All That.
Oh my God. I don't have that one written down. Do not have
Gosh, Hannah. Come on. Just
I
kidding.
knew one.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. This is why I do this. Well, meanwhile, William can't read his beer guide at this point, and he gives it away. So that beer guide did not last very long.
Talk about the fact that his friends are on the roof while
yeah. Well, and like I don't think he's had that many beers by the time he can't read the beer guide. I think it's just because he doesn't drink that like he's probably had one, maybe two, and he's like already gone.
Like, so you could like see his vision too, and it was just blurred. Like all this one beer.
There's a guy that recognizes Preston and won't stop talking to him and telling him embarrassing stories. This guy is played by Victor Tung, who's known for his role in Sister Sister, Hollywood Homicide, and Crimson Tide. He sees Amanda and Preston sees Amanda and sits near her, but he can't say anything right away. And then this guy comes over and starts telling this embarrassing story. Now, Amanda's second cousin and Ron ends up coming over and starting talking to her. Creepy. Ron is played by Eric Palladino, who was in U571, 666 Park Avenue, Suits, ER, and NCIS Los Angeles. And we see Mike gets pissed at his buddy who isn't breaking up with his girl because his girlfriend has the house to herself all weekend and her parents have mirrors on the ceiling in their bedroom. So he was like super stoked about that and not gonna dump her. Now the band is about to play when they pull out a shirt for Love Burger, which doesn't necessarily go well. The host smells poop and someone is tracked in on their shoes. She's going around sniffing everyone's shoe looking for it. Meanwhile, Kenny hears a girl crying to her friend that her boyfriend cheated on her. She's played by Nicole Bilderback, who many know from Bring It On following this movie as Whitney. She was also in Cruel Summer. And her friend is played by Leslie Grossman, who was in the show Popular. She was also in Good Place and American Horror Story. Or if you're like me and you have rebinged recently What I Like About You with Amanda Bynes, she plays Lauren. Well, Kenny tips over in his chair as she's talking about sleeping with the next guy that talks to her. And Kenny turns on the charm. You are too fine to look so sad. It breaks my heart to see you this way. You tell Special K what he can do to make you feel better. And he tells her to wait for him, and he goes to get in line for the bathroom, but the line is too long. So he tries to go upstairs, and the host gives him permission only, but tells him not to shut the door because it's broken. He starts to do weird things to prep himself and ends up spilling water on his pants, and then he burns himself trying to blow them dry while they're on, so he starts to take them off. Meanwhile, Denise is walking by when a pot brownie is thrown at her head, and a stoner licks the chocolate off her face. Now, this hippie guy is played by Eric Balfour, who was in 24, 6 Feet Under, Country Comfort, and The Offer. For the 90s kids, he was also in Kids Incorporated, which was like kind of like a reality show that wasn't, it was like a variety show put on by kids. But he also did an episode of Boy Meets World, and he was in Dawson's Creek, and he did a couple of Buffy the Vampire Slayer episodes. And then a lot of people will know him as the too old boyfriend in What Women Want. So he's the boyfriend that Mel Gibson does not like for his daughter. Now, Denise goes upstairs to find Kenny with his pants at his knees, holding condoms and trying to dry his pants as he's also practicing his moves. She freaks out and shuts the door with them inside, and the handle falls off, and they are stuck in the bathroom.
Wait, so that you didn't cover his there was a part in there when he's like panicking and he like spills the thing on himself. And I used to think this line was so funny because he was like, "Oh man, she's gonna think I have that premature evacuation."
That's true. Yeah. That's why he's hair drying in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
So funny. Meanwhile, downstairs, William is wasted, as I would say, and is doing body shots off of people. He has completely forgotten about his plan. And then he says, I can't feel my legs. And then he's super excited and he goes, I have no legs, which is honestly my second favorite scene of this entire movie. I would shout that all the time. Like, I can't feel my legs. I have no legs. So, and in hindsight, I'm actually wondering like how many people knew what I was shouting that from. Because it's such a good line. Anyway, Mike asks his buddies if they broke up, his other buddies, if they broke up with their girlfriends because they have, and they haven't, because they have tickets to Pearl Jam in a few months from one of the girls, and they're not going to. Meanwhile, Amanda and her cousin are talking about why she dated Mike for so long. But Preston is out by the pool talking with the guy that he really believes there is another person out there for everybody. It's in the letter that he has, a love letter to Amanda. Why she's not with Mike, why he has this letter 4 years later, like he didn't save it. He says he's ready to find out and ask for words of encouragement. And then we see that he's talking to the exchange student who was recently taught and responds with, "Would you like to touch my penis?" And then he tells people he's a sex machine. Kenny and Denise are still stuck in the bathroom, and Kenny tells her there is a super fun honey just waiting to have sex with him. And we see that Kenny's mad honey is now making out with her boyfriend and saying she shouldn't have believed those rumors. And I can't confirm this because nowhere on the internet and will agree, like will tell you, but it's just for a split second. But her boyfriend is played by Nick Lachey from 98 Degrees. Like you see him as he's just about to kiss her, and then that's it. It's like, and he's like not listed on anything and never mentioned that he's in this movie. So, because I was like, the first thing I said is I was like, boy band. I was like, boy band. That guy's from a boy band. Which boy band? And I'm like having to rack my brain. Well, Amanda tells her
Would have
cousin.
never caught that.
It's like, it's just, yeah, it's just a second. Well, Amanda tells her cousin thanks for listening, and he says he feels really close to her. And then he starts kissing her as Preston sees this and leaves. And Amanda shoves him off, gets mad, and walks out. And outside, Preston throws his letter away. Now, William is talking to the stoner kid that apparently Mo would be hanging out with. "See the salt on this pretzel," he says. "Look at the stars. Some people, they say that the stars are billions and billions and tons of hot gas. But I think it's maybe just God's salt. And God's just waiting to eat us."
I feel like that's a good take, maybe. Like, you never know. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he's
Really
up
weird.
to something.
From the
Yeah,
nerd,
right.
that's a really weird sentiment. Like like ditch the science aspect. God's just waiting to eat us.
No, William was like my second favorite character, especially when he was wasted. That was so funny. So
Definitely.
Oh, crazy. Well, Mike
Oh,
Dexter
yeah.
sat down next to the two girls thinking they'd want to get with him, and they don't. Apparently, he called them skanks, and they called him out on it. These girls are played by Selma Blair, who's known for Cruel Intentions, Hellboy, and The Sweetest Thing, Legally Blonde, and Zoe Duncan, Jack and Jane. Jennifer Paz, known for Steven Universe, and other voice work, is the other person on the other side of him.
starting to watch Steven Universe.
There you go. Well, the nerds are still waiting on the roof, as we see throughout the entire movie, pretty much. And one of them is supposed to meet his girlfriend on the internet, but she has a photo shoot in Fiji. Apparently, she's Christy Turlington. I really don't think that he's dating Christy Turlington, but that's okay. And then someone threw out the yearbook girl's yearbook. When she dug through the trash, she ended up pulling out Preston's letter. And through the magic of something in this movie, the letter travels back into the party, stuck to a girl's shoe, and then it gets stuck to the keg, getting rolled in, and somehow flies up and lands in a bowl of chips on a coffee table inside with Amanda's name facing up. Now, Denise is still fighting with Kenny. And tells him to look in the mirror. He's white. That's what she tells him. And then he tells Denise that she thinks she's better than everyone else. And apparently they stopped speaking in the 6th grade because Kenny wanted to become popular. The upset Preston has driven off and is now parked outside the high school. Thought he was looking for a sign because of what was been going on throughout the night. But they've been playing Mandy every hour for Barry Manilow's birthday. The radio says that they have Barry Manilow to answer some questions. Well, Amanda ends up seeing the letter with her name on it on the table in front of her, and she reads it. Meanwhile, Preston is trying to get through to the radio station to talk to Barry Manilow when an angel walks up. She needs to make one call and kicks him out of the phone booth. He finally gets through to the radio station, and she hangs up on him, like on it for him, so that she can call a cab. Now, the angel is played by Jenna Elfman, which was also uncredited. Thought that was weird. Who starred in Dharma and Greg, Keeping the Faith, Friends with Benefits, and Ed TV. She's also been in Gross Point Blank, Fear the Walking Dead, and most recently, she's in the show Shifting Gears. She lectures him on having a bad night after she had drunk men grabbing at her. and somebody threw up all down the front of her. Amanda Beckett tries to ask an environmentalist girl back at the party about Preston, and she tells her that Preston sat next to her in freshman English. How could she not know who he is? And then she starts to call everyone sheep and says, bah. Now, this Earth girl is played by Sarah Rue, who is known for My Future Boyfriend, Slipping Down Life, Pearl Harbor, but she was also in Zoe Duncan, Jack and Jane, Popular, The Ring, Big Bang Theory, Dorfman in Love, Bones, and a series of unfortunate events, the TV show, and The Rookie. Still up on the roof, the nerds lose their flashlights while they're pretending to play Star Wars. I could see that would be something I would do. Be like, and then drop it. Meanwhile, Preston and the angel are talking about her love for Scott Baio and the encounter that she had that didn't go anywhere because fate brought her to see him when he visited her mall, but fate only takes you so far. Then you have to do the work. So she tells Preston to call buried Manilow back and tell him how he feels, which I think is hilarious. She like misconstrues the entire situation. Meanwhile, back at the party, the band still has not played. They fight and they break up. So a guy hops on stage with Take Me Down to the Paradise City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. And William is like, hey, the guy that I used to tutor made me listen to the song, probably the same guy. And he goes and does karaoke. Now, the headbanger guy with William is played by Steve Monroe. Many might know from Sister Sister, Miss Congeniality, or Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. Now, William sings, and while he's singing, he's like looking like Kermit. He's like flailing everywhere, but these girls are getting into it. And then he rips off his shirt and stage dives, which is just crazy. And there's even like a really good scene where he like falls down initially, and then like he like rises up and somebody throws the microphone and he catches it. It's just like, what? How is this guy cool? He's like the nerd of the movie.
Like going to Harvard, like that's crazy.
Back in the bathroom, Kenny and Denise are still arguing, but they both admit to things. He told someone to write Denise Fleming as a tampon on her locker, and Denise told the girl that Kenny was into having sex with trees. Mike is hanging out outside still, and Trip McNeely sits down. Trip McNeely was played by Jerry O'Connell. He's been from Scream 2, Sliders, Kangaroo Jack, Stand By Me. He was also in Yours, Mine, and Ours, Crossing Jordan, The Big Bang Theory, and Star Trek Lower Decks. Now, Mike idolizes him. He says he can't, but Trip says he can't even get the digits of women as a freshman because they all want to go with older guys. He says he broke up with a girlfriend before he left, and the college chicks are totally different. He gives Mike the advice, don't break up with your girlfriend. She's hot. And also wear rubber flip-flops in the shower. Because now he has like athlete's foot or warts or something. I think he said he had warts. Yeah. Ugh. Gross. Well, Mike goes looking for Amanda, but meanwhile, Amanda is asking the two stoner guys who Preston is, and this is my favorite scene of the movie. But the two stoner guys are played by Brian Klugman, who was in Cloverfield, Baby, 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 The Words, and Felicity, and a young Jason Segel, who was from Sex Tape, The End of Tour, The Muppets, Forgetting Sarah Marshall. But it's one of my favorite shows that he's in right now is called Shrinking, and it's awesome. He's also in I Love You, Man. I want to point that out. It's a good movie. This, like I said, this is my favorite scene in the movie. The first guy says, Preston, I don't know. His hair is kind of brown. And guy 2 number says, no, it's not really brown. Oh, he's tall. And guy 1 is like, yeah, he's kind of tall, sort of tall. And he's always wearing like t-shirts. And Amanda says, so he's sort of tall with hair and he wears t-shirts sometimes. And the first guy was like, yeah, I mean, well, he's Preston, Preston. And that guy number 2 is like, I like that guy. And then together they both say, Preston. So that's my favorite. And anytime anything is vague in my life, I'll be like, so he wears t-shirts sometimes? Like I'm constantly bringing this movie back up. He has hair, he wears t-shirts sometimes. Well, Mike sees Amanda and tries to kiss her, and she says, I am not your girl. And Mike wants to talk about us. And she says there is no us. But he's been doing a lot of thinking lately, like the past 10 minutes. And he thinks they should get back together. And she says, why? And tells him the answer is no. She calls him childish and a self-centered a-hole. Then every guy tries to hit on Amanda after that and tries to sleep with her, or get her to sleep with them. Preston goes looking for Amanda, eventually catching up with her after multiple guys have encountered Amanda, and Preston yells out that he loves her, and she thinks it's just to get her to sleep with him. And she tells him off. Now, William starts to remember what he's doing and he tries to lure Mike outside the pool house, but Mike is crying. I'm a loser. He broke up with the hottest girl in school. He got picked on and he hugs William. In the bathroom, Denise and Kenny are singing NKOTB's The Right Stuff. Great song. One of my favorites. Denise makes fun of his huge pants and his goggles, and Kenny makes fun of her orthopedic shoes. And Denise says, is there a mission to the moon later with those shoes? Kenny kisses her, and Denise looks shocked, and then she kisses him back. Now, Amanda gets accosted by the yearbook girl and looks up Preston in the yearbook and actually realizes she yelled at Preston and goes looking for him. Meanwhile, Denise and Kenny are getting hot and heavy in the bathroom. Back downstairs, William says to Mike, you know what they say about women in trolley cars, right? There's plenty of them in the sea. Am I right? And Mike's like, you are correct. Women in trolley cars. Mike starts apologizing for things he did to William. Well, the band starts to make up over the shirts, and they ask if they should have a reunion. But they haven't even played yet. They've never played a single concert. They've never played a single show. This was supposed to be their first time. They broke up before they got started, and now they're talking about a reunion. I was like,
A
losing
reunion
it.
like 3 hours later. Like
Yeah.
what?
The cops break up the party as the band is just about to start playing, and the kids scatter. Mike tells William to hide in the pool house. The nerds jump on both of the guys and they take off their clothes and pose them naked and take a Polaroid. And then they realize one of the guys is William after they find their flashlight, but the cops are coming, so they leave. The klepto kid, meanwhile, steals a police car. So we see that. The police find William and Mike in a precarious position. Meanwhile, upstairs, Denise and Kenny look awkward after hooking up. She tells Kenny it gets better, and Kenny gets defensive. He tells her it ain't her fault if she lacks the flavor. The host comes in and kicks them out of the bathroom. Kenny tracks Denise down the street with his vehicle and apologizes. She apologizes too. They make up. William gets bailed out of jail by his parents, and he learns that Mike Dexter said Mike made him do all of those things, and he hugs the cop and leaves. Back in Amanda's house, she's getting rid of all of her old photos of Mike, and Preston has to sleep in this night at his house. The next morning, Preston meets up with Denise and learns about Kenny Fisher and her. He was surprised and asked to come to their wedding. I like how he's making fun of her for it. He tells her he told Amanda and she didn't want him. And he says he's okay. They weren't meant to be. It's making him a better person. Denise tells him she does still believe in fate and thinks it works in mysterious ways sometimes. In the diner, we see the yearbook girl and the annoying guy having breakfast, and they're a good match. Memories are all we have, is what he says. Mike is talking to his guy friends, and William comes in and says hi to Mike, and Mike stops him from sitting down and makes fun of him like nothing happened. Upon William leaving the diner, the screen says William went to Harvard, where he became one of the most popular students. He also formed a software company valued at $40 million, and he is currently dating a supermodel. Mike's screen says, at college, Mike drank too much and lost his football scholarship. Now he's 40 pounds overweight and was fired from his job at the car wash after some incriminating Polaroids surfaced. So his Polaroids came back around.
Actually, also just noting that they said that William created a software company worth 40 million.
Yeah.
It's kind of nuts to think that we have companies now that are what NVIDIA is like on the verge of being like $1 trillion company.
Right. Yeah, 40 million is like nothing.
Right. In that world industry.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah. But it did make me think of like all the people that I went to high school with and like who became like really wealthy and who didn't, you know? So I was like, oh, maybe that person was this guy in high school. Um, Mike's screen. Oh, sorry. So Denise sits back down with Kenny at the diner. The screen says 5 minutes later, Denise dumped Kenny, and then it adds 10 minutes later, they found a bathroom and got back together. Preston walks into a train station later and waits for his train. As he's walking to his train, Amanda says, "Excuse me, I think you dropped this." And she has the letter. She thanks him for what he put in the letter and says, "So you're leaving now?" And she says, "It's really bad timing." He says he has a workshop with his hero, and she says, "Congratulations, you should probably go. Maybe she should just be single for a while." She's waiting for Mo. She wishes him good luck, and she turns away and turns back. He turns away and turns back and then drops his bags and runs after her and says he could take a later train. He kisses her and they have a romantic kissing session in the train station, which is like the hokiest part of the whole movie, in my opinion.
Wait, that
This
was nobody else's favorite scene?
That's your favorite scene?
No, no, I'm kidding. It
I
was
was
close
gonna
though.
say,
It was close.
were you just envisioning yourself and like meeting her in a train? She stops you from going to your job, you know?
Yep. No,
One of these
that's
fate
funny.
fate might bring you still together, Mo. I don't know if
Right,
she's
right.
married, but well, maybe we'll have to Google it.
No idea.
Well, the screen says 7 hours later, Preston finally got on his train to Boston, and Amanda wrote him a letter for every day that he was away. That's a lot of letters. And they are still together. And that is the end of the movie. So, what I miss?
Hmm.
Oh, I do want to mention that I thought it was funny that Kenny like actually used the candles during him and Denise's like
I didn't even clock that he like actually got out. I wonder what else he got out of his like pleasure bag.
I just thought it was funny that it was like on the floor of a party bathroom and he was like, you know what this needs? Candles. And I thought it was like funny how he like hyped himself up and was like, this is gonna be the best sex you've ever had. And then it lasted like a minute.
Yeah.
That
Yikes.
was that was a good catch. Man,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm not great at catching like all these little details. I don't even know if there's anything that I caught that you didn't cover there. That was
Well,
very thorough.
it's
Oh,
like so much going on in this movie. I mean, first of all, there's like people who went on to do so many things. So I was like clocking like all these people that I might have not really recognized before or was just getting to know because they were just getting popular in the 90's. So but then yeah, just like clocking all these different people. That's what I was focusing on. And then um
There were a lot of faces in there where you later realize that they're just in kind of building their acting career and just
yeah,
getting into all these different films and shows and
yeah,
stuff.
especially the young Jason Segel. I was like, I totally forgot he was in this movie. Like I
Hmm.
remember the main guy that sits with him, the stoner guy, but I didn't even clock him before because he was like not in anything until like the 2000s. And then he was like his big movie was Forgetting Sarah Marshall, and then that kind of took off his career. But
That
and if
was
you haven't,
hilarious too.
yeah, did you see I Love You, Man?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that one's I love that movie. And have you seen the show Shrinking? Oh,
No.
it's a good watch. It's got Harrison Ford in it, and I'm in love with that show. That's one of my like absolute new favorite, like a new show that's my favorite. That's out right now is Shrinking. It's just it's so good. It's so funny.
oh my God.
Might have to check it out.
Yeah, highly recommend it. It's on Apple TV though, so it's like and you gotta get Apple TV for a hot second in order to watch it.
Mhm.
So Hannah, what else? Anything?
Well, there was a fire at some point. I wrote that down. I don't
Oh,
remember when the fire was, but yeah, there was a fire.
yeah, like somebody flicked their cigarette or something and or their joint or I don't remember what it was, but they flicked it at the curtain and it's caught fire and she like has to like put it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I remember you were tracking the journey of the letter where it comes
Yeah.
out of the trash can, lands in some gum, sticks to
Yeah.
somebody's shoe. And then I think you were like tracking this whole part where then it goes and gets stuck to a keg. There was one little random part you skipped that when it before it lands in like the bowl of popcorn, it actually like goes and flies onto like the
Oh,
record
the
player.
DJ. Yeah. Where
Well,
the
yeah, it
DJ.
wasn't. Yeah, but
Oh,
it
it was
wasn't
like
even
just
like
a
a real
record player.
DJ thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
And
just
it
like messing
flies
up
off.
like
I forgot about that.
yeah, and I'm like like that was like so unrealistic that it would like fly off
Yeah.
that thing. And like the other steps could like possibly happen, but
And meanwhile, like it's been in the trash. First of all, he's kept it for 4 years. He's had it folded. It's been in the trash. It gets tracked in as she's walking. Like it gets gum on it. But then when you see the letter later, it's like pristine and doesn't look like it's ever been folded at all. So it's
Yeah.
just like, how many letters do you think that they had to have? Like, how many envelopes with Amanda on it do you think that they had to have for all these different scenes? It's like so weird.
Crazy. That is crazy. Oh, I thought it was cool that Jaina from the movie, she's also from Girl Interrupted.
Oh, yes.
And I
Yep.
just watched that movie. So I was like
Okay. So what was your rating for this one, Hannah?
9.5.
9.5. That's the highest movie we've had so far.
So I don't know
9.5 out of
why.
10.
Well, I do know why. It's because it like suits my ADHD, but it was so good. It was so good. I was obsessed
Because
with it.
even though it's hokey and like I know that Mo had some thoughts when he was rewatching it last night. Um I'm trying to remember what you said. I feel like you said something and I was like,
oh, I was just
this
like,
movie
this
is
movie's like,
painful to sit through. I can't believe I was ever into watching something like this. Like this is still one of my favorites, like nostalgia wise, of like remembering because it's just so stupid and like so funny of like stuff that they go back through. So I don't know. I still love it.
yeah, I mean, I feel like the more I go back, like when we were talking about earlier, like who was our original favorite versus who would be now, I feel like
Yeah.
now I would be my favorite is much more like the William character, like the
Yeah.
nerd that was like super smart. And so I'm like,
Gets
and
drunk.
I'm not saying I'm like super smart or anything, but like I'm like viewing it more through the lens of like,
Yeah.
I'm like I can't believe like I was so into that type of like world. And I was like, I mean, I feel like everybody is when they're younger, but then you grow
I-
up, like you get older and you mature and you just view life through a different lens. So that's why I was like, it was a little painful to watch yesterday because I was like, I can't believe I was like so into like movies like this at one point in my
Yeah.
life.
Well, I was too. This was one of my favorites, and that's why we're watching it this month for my birthday month. But like it was one of my absolute favorite movies in high school, and I just thought it was hilarious. I think my brother had introduced me, so Mo and my brother are about the same age, so but he had introduced me to this movie. And like it was like I was sold after that, and it was like one of my absolute favorites. And I love William. He's just so freaking funny. So I get it. And he's like, but he's got this vengeance. So I think this movie also falls on the backs of because for Hannah, like we always explain, like a lot of movies that came before kind of led to what was created later, like inspired people. So like Animal House would probably be one. Revenge of the Nerds probably would be another. There was a lot of movies in the 80's too that were like kind of party movies that kind of probably fed into this, or kind of funny movies that were all about the especially the nerd getting back at the jock. Like that was a plot line that hit a lot of movies before this one, and I think they led to this one. And then kind of I just love that they like built it, but like every one of these people is somebody that was like in your class. Like you can align yourself with like like they say in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, like the jocks and the dweebs and the like they list all the different categories. It's kind of, you've got somebody from there in every single part of this. We all knew that kid that was like way too white to pretend that he wasn't, and whether he was trying to become a rapper or just be like cooler than he was with his like giant jeans that could fit a family of five, or his moon shoes. Um, that were like, I mean, they actually were regular tennis shoes or whatever. They were basketball shoes, but yeah, they did look weird on him, I think. But I mean, in all fairness, though, Seth Green is like really short. So maybe also they helped lift him a little bit taller.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. So
But I mean,
Mo,
it's also similar to even like what was it? I think it was The Breakfast Club where they kind of like
Breakfast
tried to,
Club. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
they
we
did
just
it.
talked about that the other day, the movie The Breakfast Club, because we watched the Dawson's Creek episode that's kind of loosely based on the same type of principle. Yeah. It's the same type of thing. Yeah, where it's just like there's the different categories of people. So Mo, what would you rate it out of 10 if you were going to give it a rating?
Now,
Yeah.
from like, I
Yeah,
mean, I would
now.
probably give it,
Out of all
I'd
the
give
things
it,
that you've now seen and expanding your mind into like all of these things that you find are like really good movies or like genres that you like now, because you're a much different person than when you were in high school. But like
yeah.
what would be your
I mean, now I would honestly give it like a 4 out of 10. I'm sorry, but
That's
I
awesome. Well,
mean,
what would be a 10 for you now?
oh, what would be a 10? I don't know. I'd have to kind of take a minute to think about that. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like,
had a hard time thinking about that too. I'm like, I like so many things, but are there other movies from the 90's that you were like, that was my movie, or like that you still think that you would like? Maybe you haven't seen it in a while, but like you still think that would be one of your movies.
yeah, like, okay, so this is a silly one, but Forrest Gump is one that I absolutely love. I mean, it's
That's on
like
our list.
yeah, if it's like, if it comes on and if, if I just have the TV on and it just happens to be playing and
Yeah.
whatever I'm doing, I almost always have to like stop and actually watch the movie if it's just on some random channel. It's been years since I've actually watched it. Probably
Yeah.
because I just don't have like the TV on much
It's a
anymore,
long
but
movie though too, and once you've seen it, like you've seen it.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's, the whole concept of it is just amazing. Like, obviously like just the role of where his character is and then the things he
Yeah.
experiences throughout life. And a lot of it is just kind of by like happenstance, and
They
but
integrate all the pieces of history and like snag him, putting him in the right spot at the right time for all these different things.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. So I'd say that is more of a 10 out of 10 for me if I
Okay.
was
All right. All right. Well, we'll have to see if we can revisit another movie with you in the future and see what you think. But yeah, some of
Oh
these
yeah.
like rewatching, it's so weird. I mean, I know that we were talking about this off pod, but and I've told this to Hannah before, but like as like in your like I'm almost 40, and as in your like late 30s, early 40s, like watching these movies back, you're like associating yourself with the adults in these movies instead of the kids that you like grew up watching, and you like thought, oh yeah, I'm like that kid, or like this is how I'd be in this kid situation. And like now you're like, oh, how would the adult handle that? Like, why is the adult like dealing with it in that way?
Oh
I'm like
yeah.
seeing myself in these older people that I never thought I would ever connect with.
Well, even is the same here. Like even when you were talking about like favorite scene in the movie, it's kind of funny because like my favorite was actually more so that part where he actually runs downstairs and professes his love to her and she just absolutely shoots him down and like crushes, like it makes his like worst case scenario come to life. But like for me as like an older person now, I'm like, good job, young guy. At least you were
Yeah.
willing to try and do it. And like the way
Yeah.
he kind of like viewed it afterwards, he's like, hey, like it wasn't meant to be, and like,
So he consoles
it could,
himself.
yeah, it could like scar him for life, who knows? But like, you really don't know, like, unless you take that chance, and then it's about how do you bounce back from that? How do you view
Yeah.
it? And obviously, it wound up working out pretty good for him, but in the long run,
Yeah.
but for me, it was all about that part where it's like you don't know unless you try. And yeah, the situation could go down horribly, but like at least that's still better than not ever giving it a shot. And so
Yeah.
I'm like looking at it from like that more adult perspective versus, like when you're younger and watching
Yeah.
it, you're like feeling the anxiety that he's going through, and you're like,
Oh
oh my
yeah.
God, I could never do that, kind of thing.
And you're like burn, like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, when you're seeing that. But yeah, I noticed that too, that like watching it as an adult, like I was just like, oh, he's handling this really well. Or like, he's just kind of like decided to move on. And even though this meant something to him for 4 years, he's just like, oh, well, stuff happens and I'm going to go and move on with my life and drive myself to the train station and go. I'm just like, I'm thinking like, where are his parents? Why aren't they taking him to the train station? But it was kind of weird in that way. But yeah, no, it's different though, like watching these movies again, because it's just like, what is happening? Why did I like this? Or we've been telling Hannah a lot about the weird things that we thought as kids, like that quicksand would take more of a role. Like have to know how to get out of quicksand, or you have to like know how to like what happens in the Bermuda Triangle. Like, why do we all know so much about the Bermuda Triangle and like the disappearances? Or then there's like been a lot of movies where they've had kids stacked on top of each other in a trench coat to try to break into something or sneak into something. And I was telling Hannah, like, I always assumed like that's what I would eventually do as a kid. Like, we would try to break into the movies stacked up on each other's shoulders. And I'm like, we never did that. Like, I don't know why. I was like, why did I think that this was a normal like thing that would happen to me? It's like such a weird 90's kid thing that you like had these ideas in your head that you were gonna like encounter these things. None of that ever happened. I don't know.
But then obviously the going to graduation with nothing on underneath the
Yeah,
gown started to come to fruition. So
yeah,
they had to pump the brakes on
yeah. I
some of
mean,
these.
that was the thing apparently. So maybe it was like 90's kids were like, I'm sick of none of this ever happening. We need to like actually get naked and go. Well, I think too, okay, I should be clear that like our class motto like somehow became it was something stupid that had to it was so white. It was OFO for show. But the secret motto of our class was get naked, which was also weird. Like, where did that come from? And so I think because of that secret motto that like fed and fueled our administration from like being concerned that maybe somebody would get naked. I'm not really sure where it came from, but it yeah. But yeah, it was OFO for show. And yeah, because we were cool
Were
in the
you the one that
middle
came
of
up with
nowhere.
it?
No, no, no. I thought they get naked was funny. I actually we would scream that instead. But yeah. OFO for sure we all thought was kind of stupid. And now we kind of make fun of it. So like we just had our 20th reunion and it was a big joke that it was OFO for show. So anyway. Well, our next watch is You've Got Mail on Netflix, since we are hitting all of my favorites. Now, this is one of my absolute favorite movies. There's a backstory to the storyline that we'll talk about. But the synopsis is that a struggling boutique seller, Kathleen Kelly, played by Meg Ryan, hates Joe Fox, Tom Hanks, the owner of the corporate Fox Books chain store that just moved in across the street. When they meet online, however, they begin an intense and anonymous internet romance, oblivious of each other's true identity. Eventually, Joe learns that the enchanting woman he's involved with is actually his business rival, and now he must struggle to reconcile his real life dislike for her with the cyber love he's come to feel. This is my feel good movie. This is like the movie that I can watch. I actually own this on Amazon because I watched it so many times. And it's on Netflix supposedly right now. But like I will watch this over and over and over again. I know all the words to it. The soundtrack was like playing when I like get up and take a shower. It's like upbeat, it's like happy. It's not anything, but it is the beginning of the You've Got Mail AOL era. So that's where the You've Got Mail comes from. We'll talk more about that as Hannah learns about dial-up, because that'll be a whole conversation I'm sure we'll have next week. So
That was a struggle in itself.
yeah. Waiting for it to dial up, listening to the weird noises it had to feed you, not really sure why.
Is AOL even still around?
No, I think they stopped I think like AOL, like the email still exists because I know people who still have an AOL email, which is messed up.
Wow. I
What?
haven't seen one of those.
Hannah, what?
Oh, my mom has one.
Your
She has
mom.
no.
Uh, well, switch to Gmail. AOL is weird and old and surprising that people are still using. But it used to come in it used to come in a disc, and you would put the disc into your computer and load the program. It would be sent to you in the mail. Hannah's
Oh,
like looking at us crazy.
Wait, do you even know what a CD is, Hannah?
yeah, I do. I do.
Okay.
I know. Trust
Her
me, I do.
parents have them.
Yeah.
I have CDs too. Wait, I have them
It's
here.
vintage ones.
Guys, look.
From 2010.
Whoa, what is that?
It's the Verb.
Oh my gosh, the
Oh,
Verb by
that's a good one.
Yeah, I have a CD
Nice.
player.
like probably not easy to get anymore. But yeah, yeah, because now you have to get them from like record shops and stuff. Like they'll sell CDs.
Or thrift shops is where I got that too.
Thrift shop.
Well,
I'm gonna get
records are
one
back.
today.
Wait, do
Records
you
are
have
back.
records?
I have records behind me. So maybe I'm the new version of Hannah with her CD collection because I've got my records back here.
To buy
And
it.
my giant record player.
Are they
But
worth it? I want a record player, kinda. Are they worth it, would you say?
a record player?
Yeah.
I mean, it gives you a different sound, and like CDs go bad. So, like, CDs, well, one, they can scratch really easily. Or if you were anything like us in the 90's and 2000s, you'd have like your little visor with your like CDs in it so that you could put it into your car. And if you souped up your car, you'd get like a 5 disc CD changer so that you could like listen to one after the other without having to take one out and mess around with it. But like I had my little visor. This is so stupid. I had my little visor of like all my CDs. I think when Mo and I were working together, probably. And like I had my window open because it was like summer and I was like chilling, driving around in my car. And like all my CDs as I go around a corner, like flew out the window. Like they flew out of the visor because like you would stick multiples in there and then they would stretch out the pocket and they got loose or something. And so they like flew. So I just like lost like a lot of CDs. And then it took, gosh, CDs were like what, like $20 a piece or more. And so it took like, I think it took like $200 to replace what I lost. So
In today's money, that's probably what, $1,000
that's
now or something?
I
Wow.
hope not, but yeah, I mean, in CompUSA dollars, it was probably a lot not having a good
Uh,
job, and I wasn't selling enough tap, so I was so getting enough bonuses. We got bonuses if we sold these insurance plans, called tap. So, which we would joke about. You gotta tap that.
or what you know about tap.
What you It's a campaign that they did to
Like the
like teach
TI
us
song.
about tap. Anyway, so yeah,
Uh,
so it took a lot of money to like buy those CDs again. But yeah, I
that's
had
no, I was gonna say that's another crazy thing to think about, like nowadays, because we were so limited with how much music we had at our fingertips.
yes,
And
true.
now, like literally, you have thousands of songs in your
Yeah.
phone you can
Or you could
listen
pull
to.
it up Spotify, YouTube, all these things. Yeah, you had what you had on CD or cassette tape if you had old stuff. But I had the soundtrack to this movie, Can't Hardly Wait, on CD. I had the soundtrack to You Got Mail on CD because I was a giant nerd about soundtracks. I loved my movies, which is apparently why I'm doing this because I loved movies. But this soundtrack was awesome because it had Run DMC, it had like Funky Cold Medina, it had like so many great songs that played through this movie. So the whole time I was like, you know, This beat is my recital. I think it's very vital to rock around it. Anyway, it's tricky. I did see DMC like in person performing that, and I was like, I was such a nerd about it. Anyway, it was so good. All right. Well, Mo, have you seen You've Got Mail?
I have, I want to say maybe once when it like first came out.
When some girl
And
made you watch it.
yeah, way back. I mean, God, this was when did that come out? Early 90's, I want to say. Or
I think it's 1995.
okay, so like right smack in the middle of the decade.
1998. No, it's later.
Oh,
1998. Internet. I gotta
wow.
think about that.
Yeah.
But it
Yeah,
has
that's
Dave
interesting.
Chappelle in it.
Does it
I mean, he's good.
really?
Yeah, it does. A lot of people don't realize that. It's got Dave Chappelle in it.
What's really interesting is, I mean, what's funny about it from my perspective is that whole concept of like you've got mail. Like I can remember like talking to like other like women and stuff, like kind of having like a little romantic letters going back and forth on via email on AOL and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you're
AOL
just
AIM.
yeah, and that was kind of like you're now like you can just go and jump into somebody's DMs and send a message. It's like,
Yeah.
but it's like you have a much more comprehensive picture. You're like on Instagram or whatever, chatting with someone. They have a whole profile. Like
Yeah,
this
before you just
whole
had like you had to find them in a chat room on AOL, and then you'd be on AIM, and you'd be like ASL, age, sex, location, and then you'd be like chatting with people that were probably not who they said they were, probably were not the age that they said that they were. Like everybody is trying to like cyber sex and all this stuff on these chat rooms meant for like teens.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, the biggest part about it that was different was it was just pre social media. Like, I mean, there was no
Yeah.
concept of like, I don't know, maybe like
That
MySpace
was
might have been
social
out at that
media
time.
essentially. Is what?
Yeah, maybe MySpace was out at that
Mm-mm.
time, but I don't think that was
Nope.
even out yet. Yeah,
Nope.
so it was just a whole different world of internet that compared to like the internet that we live in now.
Yeah, MySpace came out in 2003, so
Oh, wow. Yeah, so
college
that was
age.
yeah. But it's yeah, so it's just different. Like it's just crazy to observe how the internet has evolved. Like we got to experience internet 1.0 or point 0.5 or whatever you would call that, 0.25.
Exactly, but yeah.
I mean the slower speeds, the lack of profiles, it was like the wild, wild west of the internet. You know?
The internet had less junk on it, like so that if you research something, like you were getting like a .gov or a .org or a dictionary type of definition or a encyclopedia, you weren't getting as many like random web pages of someone's personal blog and their feelings when you're trying to find information. So it's just different.
Well, yeah, no, yeah, that's the other thing, because probably from like 2000 until 2015, I'd say you probably were in that we had good resources we could go to, like you knew like which websites were more or less reliable. And it's like we're kind of like entering well, we're already in this like new era of like misinformation per se, and you just don't
Yeah,
even know like what's real anymore
no idea.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I mean, even like they have like videos of like people talking and they're not even real videos, like the deep fake AI stuff. And you think somebody's actually saying something and really it was never them. It was like some AI generated thing and you can't even tell like what's real
Catfish by
anymore.
AI. Yeah, before you were just getting catfished by a person, now you're getting catfished by AI.
So scary. It's all over TikTok too, and it genuinely looks so real. Like it'll make videos of animals and stuff. Like there was a
Yeah.
video of bunnies jumping on a trampoline, and I genuinely thought it was real, and it was just AI.
Oh no,
Like,
Hannah. Oh no.
sad.
Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Mo, for joining us. This has been awesome. We really appreciate it. And that's it for this episode of Millennial Meets Gen Z 90s edition. Thanks for listening and rewinding the 90s with us. If this episode sparked a memory of your favorite scene or made you see a classic in a new way or introduced you to something from the decade that you missed, we'd love to hear from you. Make sure that you follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss our next episode. And follow us on Instagram and Facebook for behind the scenes moments, photos, photos, and extra clips from the show. Until next time, be kind, rewind. Thanks.
Thanks for
Thank
listening,
you.
everybody.
Thanks, Mo.
Thank you. It was great being on.